Welcome to another episode of Walk the Walk, a podcast hosted by OTB. Today we have a very, very special episode, probably our most special episode since we started the show because we are in Jeddah. We are outside of Kuwait. It is our first episode with the man, the homie, Faisal Al-Saud, my brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
We are here in his humble abode, surrounded by all these toys and these collectible items. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. Alhamdulillah, can't complain. Life is good.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having us. We were recently upstairs. We'll get into that a bit later. But first things first, what's on feet, bro?
Well, got the Casina Dunk Lows. I believe they were Korea exclusive.
I do recognize those. So, bro, we met, I believe it was 2018 or 2017.
Yep.
Around that time.
Yep.
It was in Dubai. You had just opened the concept store. You are a partner in concepts.
Me and my boys, they've been my best friends for most of my life, as well as our other friend who is a UAE local.
I'll never forget that campaign. I got a call or an email actually from someone who was handling the whole, project. I was in transit. I don't know if you know this story.
No.
So I was in transit coming back from New York, going back to Kuwait, and they had reached out to me for the store opening to do the whole campaign. And I guess they didn't get back to me in time. I was in the airport and they said, "Are you ready to film?" I said, "I'm on my way to Kuwait." They said, "Get out of the airport." So I basically told Emirates I need to get my baggage off the flight. And then I went directly to the hotel. Next day we were filming. We were on a boat. You remember the revealer video? And then we met a few days later.
Oh yeah, you did that with Sultan.
Yeah,
who was
yeah,
one of our partners.
Yeah, exactly. And then we met at the store opening. What I do know about you, you grew up outside of Saudi.
Back and forth.
Back and forth.
Not like I grew up mostly here, but I spent a lot of my time living abroad for short periods of time.
Right. Geneva, Switzerland?
Switzerland, but not Geneva. So it was like a mountain village called Villars.
Villars, okay.
Very small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have a chalet in Villars.
Oh, there you go.
I learned how to ski there. Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, crazy.
There you go.
Do you remember that toy store there in
I
Villars?
don't know. I think I was a bit too
Maybe.
I wasn't into toys like I am now.
Yeah.
But wasn't really my thing back then.
You spent some time in DC.
Yeah, as a kid.
And then Boston.
That was for college.
Right. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe your love for sneakers began in the US? Okay, so when was the memory? Tell me about the first time you basically saw a pair of sneakers and said, those look very interesting.
My first time doing it for myself, I think I was about 13 or 12 years old in California, and it was like my first time being able to like leave the house and do anything I wanted to by myself without any adult supervision. I went to Footlocker and I was looking for Air Force Ones, and I saw like 30 different colorways at the time. This was back when they were going for like $50, $60. So no one was buying them, and they were so widely available that you could find all of these shoes everywhere. Me loving shoes started before that. That's just when I was able to buy them for myself.
Right.
But I will give full credit to my mother 100% for putting me on to sneakers, because she used to buy me, obviously like all our parents, they buy our sneakers for us and we just wear them for as long as we can, and then you'll just wake up one day and find a new pair, you know. But my mom actually used to go, and when Nike ID was a brand new thing, she used to go put like my name, my favorite number, like 23, any basketball players I'd like, put them on the shoe. And that's when I started focusing on models and specific brands that I liked, because I'd never put that much focus onto shoes. So that's what started my mom. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you mentioned Footlocker. By the way, this was not planned. This is a Footlocker podcast. So Air Force Ones. Was that your first sneaker purchase?
I believe, like, from what I can remember, yeah.
Okay.
I remember it was the regular like desert camouflage Air Force Ones GR. Obviously, I bought like a pair of white on whites. Like that's the main Air Force One everyone's looking for. And I had one pair that was just red, black, and white because of Chicago colors. You know, that's
Right,
it.
right, right.
That was my first outing to buy sneakers for myself.
Okay. So I know, well, everyone knows about your Dunk and SB collection. Now, how did that happen? Like, why did you get into Dunks?
So I was into skate shoes for the longest time because when I came back here from the States, I was in a British school, and a lot of the kids in that school were really into skateboarding and skate shoes, like the puffy tongues and the
Yeah.
big, like, you know, Etnies, DCs,
Etnies,
and all
yeah,
that. So I
yeah.
just went with the flow, you know, like Vans and all that stuff. Obviously, the comfort aspect of skate shoes is what attracted me most to them because you don't find any shoe with that type of padding and comfort. And so when I eventually, years and years later, started to focus, like hyper focus on the brands and exactly the models that I was willing to add to my collection, the SB Dunk was just non-negotiable. It was at the top of my list because they'd already been through such a catalog of amazing colors and amazing stories. And this was at the time when these colors were coming out, so I didn't really know how to buy them or where to buy them from and or how much they were because I don't know if you remember, but like 10, 15 years ago, the internet over here wasn't really the most reliable
Right,
place
right.
to find stuff, and neither was the mailing system. So you had to just wait till whatever vacation or holiday you were going on and pray for the best.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
how I would come back with like 4 or 5 pairs every time I traveled.
We'll also get into Dunks a bit later because, you know, Dunks, I wouldn't say fell off, but they kind of went out of the spotlight. And then just recently, I would say in the last 2 years, made a huge comeback. How did you feel about that? I know a lot of people credit that to maybe Travis or Kylie being like an OG dunk collector. How did you feel about it coming back into the spotlight because of that?
I mean, like I'm not one of those guys that's ever gonna hate on people for wearing what they like, even if it is like overdone a little bit. But just to see so many people actually acknowledge dunks, like them, enjoy them, know what they're talking about when they talk about colorways or stuff like that, it makes me happy. Like I don't get mad seeing
Right.
people wearing the same shoe I am. It's actually it's a great point of conversation, you know. We've all had that moment, you know. I don't see why so many people are against it. I guess a lot of people like to only be the only person that has a specific thing, but if you're into sneakers for that, then what are you really collecting?
Yeah, exactly. Because like I remember when Dunks really started to blow up again, I just go into the comment section and I'd actually see people that I know personally who've you know really been into Dunks, just kind of like go on rants about like how, you know. But I'm just thinking the same way you're thinking.
Yeah, like I
it's,
don't,
you know.
I get it because like for the longest time, dunks were cheap or no one wanted them, and you could
true.
find deals. And I guess a lot of those people miss the certain lifestyle maybe they were living at those times. Like you could actually go and hunt for a shoe and it would be affordable, or you could actually get to the product that you wanted easily instead of having to go through like resellers or someone that knows exactly what they're worth and doubles the price. It was easy to find dunks. It was affordable and it was easy and there was a lot of them. People love to hate on stuff more than they actually like to support it. So
unfortunately.
I credit that like to human nature.
Yeah.
But we can't change that.
Exactly. Speaking of hating on people, Kanye. Now, myself being such a Kanye fan, it's always great to see other people like yourself appreciate Kanye.
Yeah.
I collect Kanye shoes because I appreciate Kanye the artist. I love his music, I love his vision, and that's the reason why I want to go out and buy his shoe.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people, you know, they like to buy a Yeezy because it's what's, you know, hyped, it's what the Kardashians are wearing or were wearing. And it's basically, you
Can't
know,
mention them anymore.
Yep, true. Your Yeezy collection, and I'm not just saying this because you're my friend, is actually unrivaled. The scarcity, the value, the stories you have on specific ones that we'll get into as well are just that needs a show just on its own. So I am very curious to know how, away from sneakers, you became such a big Kanye fan.
First and foremost, like because a lot of people are into music for different reasons nowadays, I just want to, anything I say is not to like shit on a person or go against their opinion or whatever. But from the very early days, I've always been into rap for lyricism above all else.
Right.
Like I acknowledge all the other parts of rap, whether it's old or new, but on top of everything else, lyricism is where it's at for me. And realism behind the lyricism. So Kanye, to me, when he came out, it was like a pebble in a sea of stones. What he was saying didn't match any other rapper. The way he rapped, the types of beats he was producing was unheard of. And then like it was just weird to me to see like his style be accepted and acknowledged, because like at that point in time, like what people dictated was like the absolute fact, and you either were on this side of it or this side of it. There was no gray area.
Right.
But then like you had to have a certain like in-depth kind of insight into his career, his music, his lyrics in order to fully understand him, which I believe that I had because of where I was living and the resources that I had at the time and who I knew at the time and all that. So I could appreciate him standing out. That is what I love about Kanye, is that he's never afraid to stand out. We all know this by now.
Right, fearless.
But back then it was much more scary to do because he's not the Kanye he is now.
Right, exactly.
So to be appreciative of that aspect of him from the very early days, it translated to his products for me as well, because I was lining up when there was no lines. You know, and I was living in Europe at the time, so there was almost no talking about or no information about Kanye West. It was mostly in the US. So I don't want to say like I was on it early, but I was on it when it was happening.
Right, right.
So not when it became like something cool to know about or something cool to have. Like I was just on it when it was happening.
Right,
It had nothing to do with anyone else but me and like Kanye and my appreciation.
Right.
So now obviously you have people love to follow trends. That's, like I said, it's not to like shit on anyone, but like it's the easy way out.
Right.
To follow a trend is the easy way out. And sometimes you shouldn't take the easy way out. Like it might actually help you discover what you end up liking, because that's my story. I used to buy in a general sense, but I focused on what it is that stood out in sneakers to me, and I kind of narrowed it down, put a set of rules for myself, like just so it became easier for me to buy and what not to buy, and what I like and what I don't like. I don't have to spend too much time in my own opinion of something. It's very clear cut at this point.
Right, right.
See, that whole system I set up for myself would not have been available if it wasn't for Kanye West. I'm not saying he's not crazy. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Crazy. I'm not saying he doesn't act like an idiot sometimes, but we all act like idiots sometimes. He's just public about it.
Right, of course.
And it also depends on the type of person you are. Like, obviously, you can't expect everyone to be attached to celebrities as if they were like real people they know. But you know, there are certain people on this earth who are famous that get through to you as an individual.
Of course.
And they can sometimes influence the way you think. And he's that person for me. Whether he's crazy Kanye, calm Kanye, collected Kanye, president Kanye, those aspects of him will always remain absolute. And that's why I have a very big, it might be general, but it's very, very big respect for Kanye West.
Yeah. And it's such a relief to hear that, man, because Kanye, to me, the reason why I love Kanye is kind of like the same reason you love him. At the time, if you remember 2003, 50 Cent was blowing up.
Yep.
You know, you had G-Unit, you had...
Exactly, he had competition.
Yeah, and that kind of rap was gangster rap. Kanye came on board with a Louis backpack, semi-skinny jeans, some Jordan 6s, and his polo, pink polo.
Yep.
And I just saw that, and I said, whoa, he's not rapping about guns, he's not wearing a bulletproof vest, and his music just blew my mind.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're into like authenticity in rap, there are certain things that no matter how me and you rap about it, we can never be a part of because it's not in our lives. But with him, he made it feel like I could rap what he was rapping and it would still apply to
Right,
me.
exactly.
Because he wasn't rapping about like, he was to some extent, but it wasn't his entire persona. So like I could rap about polo shirts or like a Louis bag and it wouldn't have to be connected to the way I was brought up or
Right,
my
right.
background. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't like, it was so easy to rap to Kanye West and enjoy the
Yeah,
flow.
yeah.
The beats and like the vibe, that's a topic we can go on for like days and days and days.
Right,
And all the
right.
features he had at the time, bro.
Right, right.
Nowadays, because people have access to more information, they're into music and the aspects of music that they can figure out. It's easy for them to figure out what they like and what they don't like. But back then, you didn't know. Like you had to wait for like the Source magazine to come out to find out anything.
Double
You know,
XL,
yeah,
I
double
remember those
XL.
days.
I didn't have internet. You know,
Right.
I was a kid. Like, why would?
Yeah, man. Like I said, always a relief to meet people who actually
But don't get me
understand.
wrong.
Yeah.
When he does act out,
Yeah.
and I feel like it comes from a stupid place, like just some petty ass shit,
Yeah.
I will like, between like me and my friends, or if we're having a conversation, I'll call him out. Like,
Me
I
too.
won't. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I do cringe a lot when he just goes berserk. But
Yeah.
what do you think about what's happening with him and Adidas? I have my opinion. What's yours?
I get where he's coming from because anyone hates being taken advantage of at any level. But you have to, at the end of the day, it is Adidas. It's not like any small company. You have to allow them to think like a business to some extent. Because they also have to like maintain certain aspects of their business that might not match up to yours. But I feel like because of the place he's reached in society, he might think that he's above certain things, which to me, no human on earth, I don't care who you are, is above. That it's a human thing. It's not like a celebrity, whatever thing. But again, I don't know. He might be getting completely screwed over.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know the specifics of his contract. Just
Right.
based on the information that's given, I can see his side and I can see their side, but I'm also more lenient towards his side because they knew exactly what they were getting into. This
Exactly.
is the exact same issue he had with Nike, and you guys promised him he wasn't going to go through these issues.
Right,
But here
right,
he is
right.
going through the same thing again.
Right. I'm of the same opinion. I personally would not handle it the same way he did, but
Yeah.
at the end, it was a huge win. And it wasn't just a huge win for himself, it was a huge win for like all these designers and creatives who get taken advantage of.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
basically people having meetings behind his back using the same designs.
He didn't let himself get Fashion Nova, basically.
Yeah, and look, at the end, like he was screenshotting their like, I don't know, pictures from their website or they look like LinkedIn
Yep.
profile pics, but it did the job, right?
It did.
It did the job. It did the job. He did it the Kanye way, and he used social media to his advantage. And yeah, to me, I saw that. I was like, that's a W.
I
That's a W.
saw that as a W too,
That's a
because
W.
no, I saw it as a W honestly when I started seeing other rappers acknowledge and actually like stop wearing Adidas.
Yeah,
'Cause
Diddy,
I'm like,
Swiss.
Diddy, Swizz, like the big dogs. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just any old rapper,
right.
you know. Those guys are influential within like outside of rap, within their own communities, their cities, their regions. Mashallah.
Yeah.
Bro, Swizz is influential here.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, he comes here a lot.
He's influential here, man. Like, mashallah.
Yeah, he has a camel team, right? Or a camel something.
Camel racing team.
Camel racing team.
And they win, dude.
Really?
Like he bought, I don't know if he bought or invested in, but like the team that he's involved with is a winning team.
Really?
So he walks away with like the bag
Wow.
or bags.
Interesting.
Yeah.
First Kanye purchase. First Yeezy. Or were they even Yeezys
Ever?
back then? Yeah, ever. First Kanye.
Easy one, gray.
Okay.
Riyadh.
What? How?
There was a boutique shop that was like fairly new.
Okay.
It had like the whole like, I have one employee, the buyer, he goes to America, buys a bunch of stuff and comes back
Right.
and sells it off.
Okay.
Bought Yeezy ones when they were sitting on shelves. Didn't know what he had. Sold them to me.
Brand new.
Brand new.
Wow. So that was your first Yeezy.
I thought they were fake for the simple fact that they were being sold in Riyadh, but I authenticated them and still have them.
The same ones upstairs. Wow. Okay. You told me a very interesting story about the LV shoe and what you asked your mom to go get, or tell me
All
more
right.
about that story. Feel free to go into details.
So,
for the
as I
story.
mentioned before, Kanye wasn't really big in Europe, to my knowledge at least. So I was able to go to the closest Louis Vuitton store and pick up a few pairs of the colorways he had dropped. But the one that I really, really wanted was not available in Europe. It was a US exclusive, which was the Jasper gray and pink high top pair. And there was this concierge service that we used to use back in the day. I can't remember the name.
It was
honestly.
through the Virtu phone?
No, it wasn't through the Virtu phone. I knew you were going to ask that. But it was just a service. Like my mom had like a membership for it.
Right.
And so she sent an email. These guys came back, gave us a few options. Like they showed us a few shops or some individuals that were selling them. Found the pair. My mom happened to be going to New York in the next 2 weeks. So she said, don't worry, when I go, I'll buy them for you, inshallah. Cool. I'd never been to Flight Club yet. So, and I'm not, at that age, obviously, I'm not thinking about the dangers of New York City, where the dangerous areas are. So, sent her the address, sent her the size, told her the price. She was cool with it. Gets to the shop. It's on Canal Street, Green Street, off Canal, I believe.
2008.
Yeah. So their first Flight Club location. Yeah. And so, according to her, it was just a white wall with a door, and you walk in, and I went to the store later on. Obviously, this is me describing the store, sorry, but this is her description. She walks in, and she said there was only 2 people in the shop, but there were at least 5 drug dealers, like from her walk to the shop.
Probably
obviously, like I don't know what my mom considers to be a drug dealer.
They're probably
like,
resellers too.
Probably something. So she was scared. Like she didn't know. She was a Saudi woman in her mid 40s, at the time. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to think. And she calls me walking out of the store. Are you crazy? You actually expect me to go to this shop in this dangerous area? Clearly someone had told her it was on Canal Street. And then I was like, did you get the shoes? After I got screamed at, of course I got the shoes. I wasn't going to come down here for nothing. And that was it.
Nice.
That was how I got my Kanye's. Again, credit to my mother, the OG.
Nice. That's a dope story.
Yeah.
So, what about the other LV? I was just upstairs and crazy. I've never seen an LV Kanye selection like that in one place.
Like I mentioned, so was able to buy 3 pairs in Geneva because no one was buying them. And the other 2 that I have, the other 3, sorry, that I have, was just random finds over the years, like on eBay for a legit price or someone sending me a listing.
Do you want to talk about that Red October story?
Dude, nothing's off the table.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't get in trouble. Like, I'm not responsible.
So why don't you maybe describe the news that came out first?
Okay, so this is all information that I was told, so take this with a grain of salt. I am not the absolute fact when it comes to these stories. This was when Kanye started wearing the Red Octobers, and people obviously expected the announcement to happen soon because he'd already dropped the 2 colorways and rumors of a 3rd. Pictures had leaked already, blah blah blah. I had a few plugs back in the day. I'm not sure if they still plug people, but
Probably not.
I was dealing with them. So one of them calls me up and he's like, yo, I have a pair of Red Octobers. Okay, how much are you asking? And at the time he asked me for $3,000. $3,000 is a lot of money, and I was in college at the time. So in my mind, it was like, you spend this now and go broke for however long and take it like a man, or you'll miss out on this shoe. And being a Kanye fan, within all that hype and reading all these blogs at the time, there was no way I was gonna miss out on these shoes. So that month's entire money went into a pair of shoes. And so more blogs started writing about stories. You read about interesting stuff that happens behind the scenes. You never know what to believe. And so this blog writes about how there's 20 something pairs of Red Octobers that were apparently stolen from the factory. I didn't put two and two together at the time, but when I got the shoes eventually in the mail, they came with no box, nothing, and they were in an airtight, sealed plastic bag.
They didn't come with the
No
shoe,
box, bro, nothing.
Really?
Nothing, no papers,
not
no.
the shoe bag, the red. Really?
Nope, just the shoes, airtight bag. Because they were smuggled out, and then that story became true. Like people were smuggling in their shirts and their pants, and that's why they couldn't put like all the extra stuff because they had to like fold the shoes or something. So that's how I got my pair of Red Octobers.
Not to spend too much time on Kanye, but you know, your Kanye collection is very extensive. You mentioned that at some point you had 6 Air Yeezy 2s.
I think my peak was 8.
Okay.
Actually.
And I saw, and I'll show the pictures right now. I believe it was 3 custom Air Yeezy 2s. So what was the inspiration behind those? I know one of them was already the golden one. But
yeah, the gold one was just like, it was this company that was making a custom from scratch. So I was just interested in the way it looked. But the other 2 colorways, obviously, if you remember at the time of the Yeezy 2s dropping, Kanye made Givenchy very prominent with the designs they had at the time.
Watch the Throne era.
Watch the Throne, exactly. So I wanted to just translate that onto shoes, and I had 2 pairs, and I was never of the mentality of rock one, stock one.
Right.
I'm like, if you have 2 pairs of shoes, make the other one different so you could wear it.
Okay, nice.
And it made sense, and so I sent him over to Mosh, who's best customizer in the game. He did his thing, and all these years later, they stayed intact, bro. And the second colorway was as soon as those Kobe Yeezy Cheetah colorways. Remember they leaked the pictures that were only made for Kobe, which are now owned by PJ Tucker, like he owns everything else.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to even bother looking for that shoe. I knew if I ever found it, it was going to be in a price range that I couldn't afford. So I just sent over my extra pair of platinums.
Make it look like that.
My extra pair of platinums to Mosh.
Yeah.
He did his thing again, and
nice.
Here we are.
Okay, I didn't know the inspiration behind it. Very cool. So again, being a Yeezy fan myself, I always wanted to own every single Yeezy shoe ever made, ever made. And I attempted to do this, after the Adidas, the Yeezy Boost, but then and also Yeezy season, I try to collect as much as I could. But at some point, and I believe we've discussed this as well, with the 350 colorways.
Yeah.
And just recently, I read that maybe Adidas was doing this behind his back and releasing all these colorways. Now, I gave up. Did you too?
I didn't give up. I just honestly prioritized a lot of other stuff.
Okay.
Because me trying to keep up with all the Adidas Yeezy stuff was getting in the way of me buying Jordans or SBs.
Yeah, me too.
The concept stuff. So it was just a matter of prioritizing. And with all due respect to Kanye, I will never prioritize an Adidas Yeezy over an Air Force One, Dunk, or SB.
Right.
This.
Right. Yeah.
This is my personal thing.
Do you still want to own every single Yeezy ever made?
Not as much as I used to.
Okay.
Because I feel like I have enough. Obviously, I'm never gonna be mad at not owning one more shoe, because I'll always have I have enough mentality. So if I do miss it, it's just khalas, on to the next one. Okay. I keep a list. I do keep a list of all the shoes that I missed just in case. Maybe at some point in time I'm I want to get this colorway, but otherwise it's been chill. Honestly, I just stick to the colorways I really like now.
Nice. Last Yeezy question, maybe. Top 5. Nike, Adidas, LV, Yeezy season. Give me your top 5.
Top 5. Okay.
Now I know I put you on the spot. So if you can do it chronologically, or if you could do it if you can actually rate them, that would be great. If not, just
I can do it. So number 5, Turtle Dove, 350s.
Really?
Just for pure comfort and The aesthetic of them, they're so simple. They look nice. They go with a lot of stuff.
Okay. Nice. So you're starting from the bottom.
Yeah, I'm
Dope.
starting from the bottom.
5. Okay.
5 is Turtle Dove Yeezys.
Nice.
Number 4 would have to be the Platinum Yeezy 2s.
Okay.
Comfortable as well for me personally. The colorway just is amazing. The impact of the shoe on the sneaker sphere, I guess is what you call it, is still felt to this day, mashallah, and it still like goes with almost everything.
Right.
Number 3 would have to be my red LV Dons because of they're also like actually very comfortable, surprisingly. Usually the designer shoes are not as comfortable, but the design overall, I really like it. The deep red suede all over it, just like, as you can see my couch, you know.
Okay.
Number 2 would have to be the Blink Easy ones.
Okay.
Like it's a moon boot space shoe, but I'm 6'6", so that looks very normal on me. Top, Red October.
Okay. Nice. Excellent. You had that all.
Yeah,
Nice. You want to hear mine?
go for it. Of course.
Okay. Number 5. I would actually go with the Wave Runner,
Okay.
the 500. I wear that shoe a
The
lot.
original colorway.
The original colorway, obviously, that one. I just feel like when you wear a shoe so much, unknowingly, just like that's when you know you're connected to that shoe. And I just, it was the whole dad shoe wave and all of that. And that was the one that really stood out during that whole wave.
Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah. Number 4, I would also have to go with the Platinum Yeezys, the Yeezy 2s. I just love that shoe, man.
It's amazing, bro.
It's such a sleek design, and all the different components that went into it.
The materials.
Yeah, beautiful shoe. Number 3, it's probably the shoe I missed out on. Yeah.
Which one?
Wait, are we doing? Let's stick to the shoes that we own, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's better. I wore the Pirate Blacks a lot, But
I wear the mono-colored 350s with Thobes a lot.
Okay.
Because they kind of look like they're dress shoes, but they're not.
Yeah, true. But now that I think about it, I'll have to go with the Turtle Doves also. Number 3.
Yep.
Number 2, Yeezys, Red Octobers.
Okay.
Red Octobers. Number 1, they have to be the Nike Air Yeezy 2 Solars, the black ones. I feel connected to those shoes because it was around the same time I was like going out and partying, and I wore those to the club. I wore those.
As did we all. Bro.
So when I look at those shoes, I just just so many stories. So yeah, 3 out of the 5 are Air Yeezy 2s. Crazy. Yeah, great shoes.
Yeah.
So
the only reason that the Blinks are instead of the Solar Reds are because of the shape of the Blinks made me like high top shoes again. Because I would always, growing up, I would have a hard time finding high top shoes that actually looked good on a tall person in the exact way that I wanted. But when I bought the Yeezy ones, they gave me that look that I was looking for, and then everything after I knew how to maneuver.
right.
That's the only reason it's the ones and not the 2s.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's the colorway really that does it for me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shoe. Okay. Now, moving on to Jordans.
Okay.
Now, I'm a Jordan head. The Jordan shoe was the reason why I really got into sneakers. Michael Jordan, being a guy I idolized. So when a Jordan head like myself goes to the house of a collector like yours and sees a PE that I would never think that I would actually touch, it is just, something that I have mixed feelings about. Like, wow, mashallah, but why don't I own this too? So please enlighten us on how you got your hands on such sought after Jordans. I'm not just talking about the PEs, I'm talking about the organs. I know at some point you had the M&Ms, just samples. How did you enter this world?
Honestly, just people, man. Like people you get to know over time, and the type of relationship you build with them
Right.
is what matters. Because like, I feel like most of the people that I deal with in sneakers, they know exactly what I want. How like I'm clear cut with the relationship that I have with them, so it's very easy to know what I want versus what everyone wants.
Right.
So over the years, you kind of build friendships with some of them. Some of them are more acquaintances, some of them strictly business, but there's always this same level of mutual respect. And over time, it gets them to talk to you more and more and more. So my first sample was the Oregon 4, which was with the chrome back, and I was literally only attracted to the chrome back. That's the
green.
one aspect of the shoe and the little lace locks on the side, the green chrome. That's what made me realize what Oregon University was, and then what PEs were, because I never knew what they were before. After that, the 5s came out, and because I'm Saudi, like it's not just because I'm Saudi, I actually do love a particular shade of green. So all those shoes came out in the same shade of green. It was a no-brainer for me. So with time, buying those shoes, building those relationships, you get to kind of build like a network of people. And so I give all the credit to those people for putting those shoes in my hands at any given time, because without them, I'd just be some guy in Saudi, you know.
Respect, like you said.
It's
you
people
know?
and respect.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to them looking into your collection and them like actually realizing, all right, this guy actually gets it.
Yeah,
you know?
like I never gave any of these people a reason to doubt my intention.
Right.
So that's the constant part about it, and that's what I feel made me come back to them as well as them come back to me. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Right,
you know, it's not just some guy with money buying shoes from random people.
I actually forgot to ask you a very, very important question on the Yeezys, the Kanye story. I scrolled down your feed actually quite a lot in the last 2 weeks. You can ask the guys like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, just looking at Faisal's feed. And then I stumbled along a picture I forgot about, which is an epic photo of you and Kanye. I believe it was TD Garden, Life of Pablo tour, or before Life of Pablo. You are holding my grail, honestly, my grail that I'm actively searching for in my size and a good price. Fails, L's all the time. Not only are you holding it, you are right in front of Kanye. He is, I believe, holding it too with a pen, or about to sign it. Now, 2 questions. Number 1, how did that happen? Like, how did you actually get into that situation?
Again, people. All credit goes to my homeboy Sammy, S Universal on Instagram. He makes a habit of knowing exactly where and when to be for any and everything that he's passionate about, and I respect him greatly for it. And I love him as a brother because he always remembers me when he knows it's something I like too. So when it came to this, there was an opportunity that was given to him to go backstage at a Kanye concert. I believe it was like a charity donation. Like the item that you would get was for you to go backstage with a concert of your choice on the Life of Pablo tour. We both got like a big bag of every single piece of merch in our size. We got to meet Kanye backstage, and that was it. And he set it all up and thought of me. So I'm forever grateful to Sammy.
Wow, it's beautiful. So the second question was, how did it feel?
I'm not a person that gets starstruck because, like, alhamdulillah, I've had the honor and the privilege to meet a lot of people throughout the course of my life, whether they be famous like for acting, singing, whatever, or if they're like a politician or someone that's famous within their own community, you know, here. I feel like that's trained me enough to like not really be starstruck from anyone or like treat them like a regular human being. But that was the first time I was genuinely starstruck, and I had nothing to say. Like I couldn't start the conversation. I had to wait until someone talked so I could jump on to that topic.
Right.
And even then, like I was just like kind of like,
Yeah.
You know, thank you so much. Great show, bro.
I can definitely relate to that story. I accidentally met Kanye. It was 2010, F1 Abu Dhabi. I had
Okay.
flown in from Kuwait just to watch him. He was headlining. And I was in a
Kanye went to
hotel.
Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, and a lot of people know that. 20, it was right before My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy dropped.
Okay.
He performed the F1, Abu Dhabi
Yeah.
F1. He headlined. So obviously living in Kuwait, I said, I'm definitely going to go see him. He performed. The next day, I'm in a hotel lobby, the Emirates Palace. I don't know if you know. I'm walking in the hotel lobby, and I just hear a voice, a very distinct voice. And I look, along those lines without saying that. And I look, and it's Kanye with a big bodyguard and another guy. And my girlfriend at the time, she turned around and she knows I'm a huge Kanye fan. And it was around the BlackBerry era. Remember the white ones
Yep.
with the really shitty camera?
Mm-hmm.
So I turn around and I see him, and I froze.
The curve.
Yeah.
The BlackBerry curve.
Yeah, the curve.
Oops.
And I froze. I just didn't know what to say. And at the end, I just basically told him, man, I came here just to see you. I've seen you in concert like countless times. And he's like, oh man, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Took the photo. It was my Facebook photo for like 5-6 years. Never took it down.
Hey, if I still had a Facebook, it'd probably be mine too.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely can relate to that too, man. So Yeezys, Dunks, SBs, Jordans, being a sneaker fan, a sneakerhead, and how did the concept story happen?
Concepts. So living in Boston, obviously, every city has their spot.
Right.
And for me, that was Concepts. But it wasn't at first, because they were in an area called Cambridge, and I was in Boston, so that's kind of like, it's a different city, but it's still pretty close, but it's just not an area that I frequented a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't really that into Jordans at the time. So one of my boys, like my brother, his name's Waleed, shout out Waleed, he introduced me to the guys at Concepts, because I started asking him where I could buy some Jordans. And so he would facilitate those deals for me, but then at some point I was like, yo, we can't do this forever. Like, just tell me where you're getting them, and then I'll go myself, stop doing me favors, basically. So he just introduced me to the manager. His name's Dion, shout out Dion, who ended up introducing me to the owner, who is a Lebanese gentleman named Tariq, one of my closest friends, and I consider him to be a mentor because I've learned so much from him, just shadowing him for so long in Boston and in New York.
I think I met him in Dubai.
Yeah, he was at the opening.
Nice
So we just got super close, and him being Arab and having not returned to the region for so long, I opened the topic of possibly opening a store in the Middle East. So he came over to Dubai. We went with them, obviously. Checked out the vibe over there. Showed them what it was like. They were excited, and that's how the partnership began.
I remember the store opening, pretty surreal moment for yourself. I remember, realizing wow, this guy's genuinely.
It happened quick too.
Yeah.
It happened much quicker than I ever expected it to happen. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, and soon to open somewhere else.
Inshallah.
Great. So we talked about some Yeezy customs, crazy customs. I've seen some pretty insane customs in my lifetime as a sneakerhead, but I've never seen a Nike Mag custom.
Yeah.
So tell me about that Nike Mag custom.
So my cousins actually, they were a part of a rally called Gumball 3000 a couple of years back, and they built a Batmobile tumbler from the Dark Knight movie, the one that looks like a tank.
Right.
And at the time, I was actively campaigning for my father to allow me to go on one of these rallies with them.
Okay.
And so as a way to push myself and excite myself and excite my cousin as well, I had a pair of Air Mags, and I decided to color them kind of in the same color scheme as the car was, so that they would go together.
Right.
Ended up not going to the race.
Right.
And so I gave them to my cousin
Okay.
to take with him if he wanted to do whatever, put them on, take pictures with them, whatever. They were essentially his.
Okay.
So They came back pretty messed up from like wear and being around so many cars and I guess exhaust pipes and all that. But thankfully, Mosh, who created the shoe, was very kind enough to take them back and just redo the whole thing quickly, free of charge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And now they're just sitting upstairs.
Yeah. I want to actually try them on. I always wanted to try on Nike.
Go for it.
Yeah. I did see some crazy breads, shadows, toros. I believe the fours, the bread fours.
Yeah.
Who did those?
JBF Customs.
Okay.
So JBF, that's also the homie. Shout out JBF. He is, in my opinion, the best sneaker craftsman or shoe craftsman in terms of customization when it comes to sneakers that I've seen so far. His attention to detail and dedication to the actual craft of creating shoes is unrivaled. And so I wouldn't trust anyone to craft an entire shoe outside of him. I don't want to say something that might like be wrong, but like how I found out about him and like he was making a bunch of Python related items. So they like Python versions of other shoes, but way before this whole wave of like customizations are like, I don't want to name drop anyone because I don't buy from anyone else, but he was the one doing it first. And he was doing it very, very effectively. He wouldn't drop like mass orders. He'd just make like 3 of certain color and people would be able to buy them. And so we built a friendly relationship as well, to the point where like I was able to get a few customs done by him, as well as like some original ideas from me, some ideas from him individually. And then there were some ideas that he collaborated with other artists like Mosh, in which I like to apply to my own shoes.
Right.
So,
those are the
for example,
fours,
the Raging Bull.
The Raging Bulls, yeah.
The Raging Bull 4s, he had done with Mosh on a pair of 5s. But I didn't want an all red Jordan 5. So I told him to do the same colorway on the Jordan 4. And that's how they ended up collabing.
Sick.
For the second time.
Not too long ago, some news came out. Complex Sneakers, Nice Kicks, the main pages.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. And I had reposted something that was just so fascinating to me because, number one, I'm a Batman fan, particularly the Michael Keaton Batmans,
Old
a lot
school.
of
Tim
nostalgia.
Burton,
Yep. When I saw the news it was knowledge to me, that Michael Keaton in one of the Batmans actually wore a Batman boot that was a Jordan 6.
Yeah.
And me being a huge Jordan 6 lover, I love the Jordan 6.
2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
-1, that's the maps.
There you go. So I reposted it, and a few hours later, maybe
you might have been the repost that reminded me.
Really?
You might have been.
Okay, very possible. Yeah. So when you replied to that repost saying that, yo, bro, those are mine, the emoji with a like 5 of them, just like, how the hell did you get those, man? and when
Crazy.
Okay, so two levels to the story: how you got them, number one, how you purchased them, and then what happened in between before you got them back.
Okay, so I had seen an article. Obviously, they were being reported on that Batman had wore Jordan 6 boots, and then there was a link at the end of that article. Check out the eBay auction below. So I clicked on the link, but the listing had already ended. Unfortunately.
Not to cut you off. What year was this?
I believe it was 2014 or 15. No, sorry, 2013. 13. Yeah,
okay.
13. So I clicked on the link. The eBay listing had ended already, and I could see how much that was paid for them. And I just tried my luck because I'd already saved up like the money, and I'd had like enough money to buy that shoe. So I messaged the seller and I'm like, hey, if you still have these shoes physically, I'd like to offer $1,000 over what you sold them for. And so he replied immediately and he said, listen, I'll give them to you for the same price that they were sold for, but it's just because I have an issue with the buyer. I don't trust them. They're being shady and they haven't paid for 48 hours, so I would rather... And he went through my page, I believe. He asked me for my Instagram page, and he went through it and to verify if I was a sneakerhead or anything. which respect to him. Like if I had those boots, I'd want them to go to the right place.
Of course.
So he ended up refunding them, and then I ended up PayPaling him. And so because of the condition they were in, he had offered to send them to his friend in the UK. So this is where the story gets crazy. So at the time, I had no reason to not believe these people. So he had sent the shoe to his friend in the UK, who is a professional Batman costume maker.
Right.
So they stayed there for a couple of months that turned into like a year or two, because I'd honestly forgotten. Like life got in the way and I'd forgotten that I'd send the shoe. Or in my mind, maybe he was working on them for so long, you know?
Right.
So and then I saw a post on them years later, got in contact with the same dude because the other dude wasn't answering. So the dude that sold me the shoe was being very, very helpful. He was with me the whole time, up to the point where I actually blamed him and accused him of like stealing money from me. But then he still helped me find it afterwards, so that kind of cleared it up for me, because he could have just ignored me, you know. He's in the UK. I have nothing to do with the UK. And so years and years and years later, I moved back home, and I finally decided to put my foot down because I had the means to look for my shoe again. And I went through my images, and I found an old picture that the customizer had sent, or the restorer had sent, with a geolocation on it. And so I had this friend who suggested that I hire a team in the UK to get the shoe from this guy, which I'd already started talking to and already agreed to pay them, and we had a handshake basically. So I sent them all the information, all the emails, all the DMs, everything that I had in my phone related to this boot. And within 24 hours, they found exactly who it was, where he lived, how to get to him, and essentially get my shoe. And so the next day, drove all the way to his house, whatever small town in the UK it was in, knocked his door, called me on FaceTime to verify that this was my boot, and sent it to me, and it was in my hands within 2 days.
Wow.
So I bought the boot in 2013, and I hadn't touched it or seen it in front of me until 2021.
Wow. 8 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And all the while, all these articles keep coming out, and people keep sending me stuff, thinking that I have this boot hidden away somewhere, not knowing the entire story. But bless his soul, Brendan Dunn actually interviewed me about it, and he put a story up. Okay. He put this story up on Soul Collector, I believe, or Complex.
Oh, I have to read that. Yeah, Dunn's the homie.
Dunn.
Recently, just a couple minutes ago, actually, we were going through the Sotheby's Instagram account, right? At one point, you owned the Yeezy Nike 180s, actually his shoe, correct? Yeah. Size 12.
To my knowledge.
Yeah. And you own the Hirachis, and you let go of them eventually. Now, how do you
I found those on indexpdx.com, just sitting there.
Really?
Yep, in my size.
Wow.
Surprised that no one bought them.
That's a find.
Yeah. that's the benefit of checking the same websites every day for 6 years.
Right.
Just because.
Wow. Pure sneakerhead, man. When I saw it on the Sotheby's Sneakers IG page, I said, okay, it looks like a big shoe, showed it to you, and you're like, that's my shoe. How did you feel like when you saw it? Did you miss it?
I mean, I don't miss stuff that I get rid of because I try not to.
Right.
So by now, it's just khalas.
You enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. I wore it.
Yeah.
I had it, and I don't think about it. I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, honestly, the annoying aspect for me was just that I know that someone's going to pay more money than I paid for it.
Right.
Much, much more because someone else decided to price them at this price. Like,
right.
Hustle, do your thing.
Right.
More power to you. It's just that it's a pet peeve.
Yeah. I feel
the aspect of someone having to like play someone else to get more money is just Some people would call it business, some people would call it thievery. It just matters
Right, right.
which side of the coin you're on.
True, true. Okay, fair enough. You were educated in the West. You, I would say, were exposed to sneaker culture in a way where it was more in your face. It was, you know, sneakers were more accessible. Sneaker news was all around you if you chose to be in those circles. And then you moved back home.
Yeah.
You know, being a pure sneakerhead, you lived the experience. You know, you went after those shoes. You enjoyed them. You come back home to Jeddah, to Saudi. I'll just tell a story from my side. 2014, I started to notice like it was something that was about to explode. You know, but then at the same time, I'd walk around with my Nike Air Yeezy 2s, and I go to the mall, and people will look at me funny, like you know, what is this guy wearing? You know, even at like family dinners or lunch, like what is this dude wearing? But then slowly, the trend just started to like, you know, blow up.
Yep.
Unfortunately, like as a sneakerhead, a lot of the people start getting into sneakers, especially on Instagram. We're doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, they're doing it to flex. They're doing it to gain a bigger following. They just wanted the attention, and they wanted to buy everything in sight just to show people like, you know, I have these.
And
So
they still are.
they still are actively, and it's not getting any better, unfortunately. Tell me about your experience with analyzing the whole sneaker culture situation back home and how you've saw it, I guess you can say, evolve.
I know, like, within our region, it's very, very, very easy to just hop on a trend.
Right.
So at first, it was easy to tell because you could just see what the West was doing and then wait that allocated amount of time for it to translate into our region, because we essentially just copy paste. A lot of us do, but it takes a little bit of time. But now with the boom of like social media and the internet, that time has become irrelevant.
Right.
You know, you get everything quickly live as it's happening. So as a sneakerhead, I could kind of tell that we were going to get these trends. I just didn't expect it to boom so big and quick, like the way that it did. And for me personally, like what put the nail in the coffin for me was when I went to a wedding wearing Air Force Ones, and that was perfectly acceptable. Either because the person who was like looking at me knew that, oh, it's Faisal, the sneakerhead, or because enough people were doing it. When I was a kid, bro, if I wore like black regular shoes and that weren't shiny, I'd like get looked at weird, you know? So now it's amazing to see everyone so acceptable, so accepting of sneakers in any aspect of it.
So you got into sneakers, you mentioned around 13?
Oh, way before.
Way
but
before.
Like 13 is when I was able to like start collecting for myself. Yeah.
Okay. 13-year-old Faisal, you walk into a sneaker store, and then you bump into this Faisal. And you look at 13-year-old Faisal and you say, I think this guy needs some advice. What do you tell 13-year-old Faisal?
Never, ever buy Nike Roche runs. Because I bought a lot.
Okay.
And it was the excuse that everyone used. Like, I only bought them for comfort.
Yeah.
It's only because they're comfortable.
Okay. Did you actually buy a lot?
Bro, I had like 8 pairs on deck, like for walking.
Really?
Yeah, because I was still building my collection, so I didn't know what I wanted to wear and what stuff was suitable for what weather. I was still figuring it out. But Roche runs were just like, buy 8 or 9 of them for super cheap, mess them up however you want.
Right.
But it was not worth it.
Right. You know, Kanye basically killed that shoe. Like, did you see that interview when he was saying, you know, he was in an airport, I think with Don C, and everyone was walking around with Roche runs, and he told Don C, like,
oh, sorry, Roche
runs, yeah, and he's like, no, I need to make a more comfortable airport shoe, I guess.
There you go.
So that's all you would tell 13-year-old Faisal?
And he essentially, like, honestly, I can't complain. I can't give any advice that would change anything, because what I was collecting back then is still what I'm collecting now. It just took a spin around the block for me to weed out what I didn't want.
Right.
I had to figure out what it was before I knew I didn't want it.
Right. Right.
But when I came back, it was the same. I collect Air Forces, Nike SB, Dunks specifically, not all of Nike SB, and Jordans. And then you have the outliers, which are like the Kanye stuff, the Off-White stuff, Bape stuff.
Right. My brother, it was a pleasure.
guy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. We will be going upstairs. Not a lot of people have seen this, so we have the exclusive
3 people
look.
have seen this.
Really?
Yeah.
But before we go up, thank you again. We will be doing this more often, I hope.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Always
Inshallah.
down.
Let's do it.
What's up?